Alright, on my last video, I basically was putting in a puck style hitch, and today I'm going to go over what I ended up trading for. I had a 2010 Ram 2500, and this video is basically I really didn't find a lot of content about going from single rear wheel to dual rear wheel. I've had both trucks. I have not had both trucks in relation to a fifth wheel. Done a little bit of gooseneck hauling and things like that with basically like a work style truck. This is pretty much the equivalent, and actually a little bit above the 2500 I had. This is a 3500 dually, and I just want to go over the things that I don't like, do like, and my experience with towing my toy hauler, which is a fifth wheel, with this truck. I've got about 520 miles on it. I've towed the fifth wheel twice now, but let me take you around the truck here and kind of show you what I ended up getting and kind of why it's different than that 2500. Now keep in mind, this is a 2017. I had been looking for a while. My old truck was a 2010. I've been looking for a good deal on a 3500 and came across one and ended up trading. Anyway, I'm going to take you around the truck and I'll go over everything. Okay, first off, obviously the truck is wider. When I picked the truck up, kind of show you as best I can here. You really don't notice it. This is a long bed. My old truck was a short bed. I really didn't notice it so far driving it. I'm fairly confident that the actual turning radius on the front end of this truck is more than what my 2500 was. You can kind of see here, I brought the fifth wheel in this morning, and this is the track. I really don't like going fully 90 degrees, and I didn't have to. I was able to keep forward motion on the fifth wheel and get it turned around in the same amount of area that I was using before. And again, there's the fifth wheel. You can kind of see the height difference is a little different. It is a little taller in the back. These dualies, sit up. But the squat height is almost identical. The big difference came in is I added probably 1.5 inches with this adapter. There's the hitch. I did stay with the slider. The slider works fine in the long wheelbase. I'll probably switch at some point just for the rattle and noise part of the equation. Obviously these sliders make a little bit more noise. But as far as working, it works perfectly. There, I don't know if you'll notice, but I did move the hitch back towards the camper 1 inch, and I'm going to try to line this up as best I can. I actually contacted Pullright, and they said the ideal was directly in line with the axle, and that's I'm right at it. I may be like ½ inch. I don't know how well that's going to come through on camera, but if you see the pin there, that's where the kingpin ends up sitting. And the stake pocket is not exactly over the axle. The closest thing that I found over the axle is actually that that hole on the other side there. And that pretty much is about maybe a ½ inch in front of it. And the main reason I did that is when backing up, and use caution when switching. I had a spotter, but it's still, a spotter can't tell quick enough, especially if they're not familiar with fifth wheels, how far back this thing's going to go. Now this tailgate went before I moved that hitch. I only had about maybe 1.5 inches to 2 inches of clearance. Obviously with the Pullright you pretty much have to back almost dead on, but moving that hitch back, now I've got it stops about right there. So I've got about the same amount of space that I had before hitching up. I don't have to put up my tailgate. You may have to. If you do have to do that, it's one of those things you have to be really disciplined about backing up to the trailer, getting at the kingpin, and then lifting the tailgate up and doing your hookup after the tailgate's closed. And again, I've got the Reese adapter, which elevates this. That hitch ends up being approximately 18 inches off the bed surface. That may help some folks out that are you know, trying to deal with this. I ended up with 18 inches. When I get the other hitch, I will probably try to lower that hitch a half inch to an inch, and this will be perfect. It's nose high right now, about half an inch. I did check the most accurate way to check and see if your axles are equalizing is to actually put the weigh scale. So I used the weigh scales that I used in my previous video and just ensured that everything was good. I actually ended up, the way that the dually kind of is pitched back, it actually puts about 300 pounds more pin weight with the way that it rests in the truck. So you know, that was a consideration on the old truck. I didn't have 300 pounds of pin weight. In this truck, I'm well under. So like I said, it's I'll get into the towing part here in a second, the details, but it's night and day difference. You know, everything that they say is true about having a dually to tow. I do agree with that assessment. After having a single rear wheel truck, the same exact trailer, this definitely tows better. This is a limited package truck. I didn't really look for that specifically. I do like that it has it, and it's really nice to have you know, extra things on the truck. Mainly, you know, electronics, the package. I do like the matching paint step bar there. And you know, this truck, I think it had 6 miles on it when I got it, so it was just a 2017 that was still sitting on the lot. Triangles. I do like this new. This is an upgrade. This is was not in my old truck. The seat did fold up, but it had a different style of this. Lifts it off the bed. They still have the containers. The entry's a little nicer. I mean, obviously the package that I got, it's very similar, but it's just a little bit more fine-tuned. The things I've noticed is they have a lot more lighting. If you look here, this is a light in the bottom of the seat, so the rear passengers can actually see what's in the floorboard. Most of the truck is LED. I know that the excuse me, the map light section is LED. My old truck was like a light gray. For me, I'm relatively fair skinned, and you know, my eyes don't have as much tint to them as most people's. So I really do like the darker interior. I noticed that it does really help me out, even with sunglasses out in the sun to drive. Just kind of looking at the bed there. This is a long bed, and I can tell you for certain I do like the long bed. I've got plenty of room here to put other stuff. The other truck, I was able to get other stuff in there, but the hitch took up most of the room. On the outside, the only thing I've really noticed between the Limited and the Laramie package on my old truck, this has power folding mirrors. I mean, the other truck had power mirrors, but they didn't fold in. And that's kind of convenient. Inside, a little bit different trim. I pretty much had the same console. The center is completely different, and obviously it has the 8.4 nav. I do like the brake controller's been moved, and that is way more convenient than the old one, which had the brake controller down here. I do like the auto wipers and the auto dimming high beams. That's really nice. The brake controller on this works 1000% better than the old truck. There's actually a couple of settings. You have the normal gain settings, and then you also have a light and heavy electric mode, and that works really well. In the old truck, with this particular trailer, I was basically at the max gain, 10 gain, and I'm in the mountains, so you know, you were in 10 all the time. This truck, I run between 5 and 7 with this trailer, and obviously this truck, that's the biggest difference that I've noticed of switching from 3500, 2500 single rear wheel to dual rear wheel, is braking. You do not notice that trailer is behind this truck as far as braking goes. A lot more confident feel to it. It stops when you want it to, and you really don't notice that you're applying that much more brake pressure. It just kind of works the way that it does when it's unloaded. Another neat thing that this came with, and I don't know if this is just a limited thing, but the adjustable pedals. I do kind of like, for comfort, I usually like to be pretty much up on the steering wheel, and I really like the ability to move those pedals in or out of the way. Other than that, then, you know, obviously the nav system's a lot better. The audio is a lot better. The heating and air is fairly similar. It basically has the same kind of setup as my other truck. It does have the cooled seats. My other truck had the cooled seats, but they put all the switches in the center, which is actually pretty convenient. One thing that I have noticed, my old truck did not detect that there's a load. This one seems to. If you have something plugged into the fifth wheel pin, it automatically turns on the exhaust brake, which is really nice. I have noticed I still have to go down and hit tow haul mode if I'm hauling something really heavy. I think that's pretty much it. I mean, I know there's a lot of other differences, but those are the main ones that I've noticed. These trucks, the gross vehicle weight on these trucks are 14,000 pounds. That's a considerable amount more than my 2500 2010. I kind of want to get into kind of what the experience is, both switching to this dual wheel pulling this, and I've already mentioned, number one is braking. The braking experience is a million times better. Out on the highway, not just wind, but actual semis or larger trucks passing by you, especially if they're at a higher rate of speed. The old truck would kind of, you know, give way to the trailer a little bit. This truck doesn't move. That's the best way I know to describe it. It drives exactly like it drives unloaded, with the exception of with the pressure in the bed. The ride is probably harsher unloaded than the 2500, and I think that's to be expected. The ride loaded is smoother than the 2500 has ever been loaded or unloaded. So that's a positive. The only real con that I can say about the dual wheel is simply parking, and that's not to say that, you know, it does fit everywhere, but you typically, the way that I've resolved parking is I back in almost everywhere I go, and the reason being is this dual sticks out, so ideally if another car parks to you, you know, you want room for their door to open and your door to open. And generally, if you park backwards in almost any spot, that allows you to do that. And this dual will fit. It's basically the same width as the toy hauler. It will fit in any standard parking space. But as far as driving goes, you really don't notice the dual. It takes just a few miles to get used to it and get in your mind while you're driving it where these rear wheels are going. And then it just becomes second nature, and that I just going and getting it after the trade, you know, within just a few miles, I kind of had a really good handle on it. My particular application, I have a pretty steep hill that I climb here to get out with this. My old truck was kind of, you know, put it in four-wheel drive, usually four-wheel drive low, and you kind of hit it with a little momentum and you could get up without any issues. I really didn't like that. Because it was very difficult to control the trailer. I mean, it was in forward motion, and there wasn't, I mean, you could stop, but if you did, you weren't going to get going again. I do not believe my old truck had limited slip in the rear. This one does. But the front end is a lot beefier. And my old truck in this gravel, I could put it in four-wheel drive and not have an issue. This truck, I actually wait until I'm doing the uphill ascent. And I actually have been doing four-wheel low and just idling this truck up the hill, which has been really nice because I can not only go up the hill at a really slow rate, but if I need to stop and check something, I can, and I can get started back again. So my thought on from a lot of the forum posts was that the dually would have maybe less traction, but that's simply not true. I mean, if you look at the engineering of this truck, you have two tires and the front tires. One, the front tires have a lot more weight on them, and two, there's just more tire touching the ground, so you get more traction. And for me, it's changed night and day as far as me getting up and out of here. Now I can just hook up and kind of cruise up. I don't have to really worry about you know, building up momentum or anything like that to get up the hill. Like I said, the tons of positives. Pretty much anything anyone said positive about a dually is true. The wider stance does provide a lot more stability. The long wheelbase truck definitely drives better down the road. And this setup, this is an aisin transmission. The aisin transmission with that parking brake, especially going up this hill, basically allows you to, you know, when I get up to the top of the hill, if I'm in low range, I can easily switch into high and take off without any kind of, you know, worries about the truck rolling backwards. It basically locks up the transmission, and you can make a really smooth start in high range two-wheel drive at the top of the hill and get the trailer up. I really didn't have a problem with that with the other truck, but I could see how that would drastically improve people, especially if you know, didn't want to left foot the brake, or you weren't that good with the accelerator to get going up at the top. But this truck pretty much just does it on its own. It's just natural feeling. The aisin does a really good job about waiting until the motor has enough torque before it releases that trans brake. And I get absolutely no backwards motion. And the biggest change, 2010 to 2017, obviously, is right behind this door. This is the only modification I've done to this truck, and that's to actually buy a real fuel cap. I got the def too, but I've not. This def cap is adequate, and you have to basically pull this tether off. This is magnetic. You can pick it up on Amazon. I'll put a link on the in the description. I think this is made by Ronin, but this replaces the little dinky gas cap that they give you. This is sealed, but you know, stuff still gets in. If you look in there, there's already quite a bit of debris. So that'll allow me to keep that sealed off. This truck did come with the Class 5 hitch, which on my other truck I had to install one below the 2-inch hitch, and that's to pull this. And I've pulled this twice now, and it does a really good job with this trailer as well. I hope this helps those of y'all that are looking at a dual rear wheel truck. I do understand a lot of the arguments on a single wheel truck. I had one. So I'm just trying to give some input on someone that's owned both, especially with the same trailer. I will say for sure this isn't a daily driver, and definitely if it's not your daily driver and it's your truck for work, a dually is the way to go. A daily driver, depending on where you're at, the only issue is parking, and I think a lot of that can be solved just by backing into a parking space, because this side of the truck, you know, basically is equivalent to 2,500. All you got to do is worry about that section. So if you put it back and out of the way, you can get out, and people parking next to you can get in and out just as easy. Anyway, hope you like the videos. If you have any questions, comments, experiences doing this, feel free to drop me a line. I'm always interested in hearing what other people's experiences are. As far as questions about the truck, the only one that I have, and the weird thing I've noticed is, with it sitting here idling, and I don't think it'll capture on camera, I hear like a tick. It almost sounds like a charcoal grill lighter, and I'm assuming that has something to do with you know, the DEF system or something of that nature, or it may actually be a problem on the truck. I called the dealer and they said it was normal, but if you have heard that or know what that is, please drop me a line and let me know what that is. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.